All right, welcome to this week's Walk and Talk. And here's my wife, Kristen.
Hello.
She's just going to go and get a little massage now, and then we're going to have dinner on this beautiful beach. Let me show you the beach here. All right, let's get started with the first point then on today's video. And I've got a couple funny stories to tell you as well with this one. You know what? It's very difficult to do bad news and warnings and economic forecasts and the doom and gloom and things like that when you're in such a beautiful place. We're just coming up to sunset here in Khao Lak. Beautiful, beautiful resort here. Tourism isn't quite back yet, but it will be back soon. It's getting better. But we'll come on to that later, and what happened with the U-turn on the travel and all of that. We'll come on to that shortly. But continuing on with what's happening with the banks then, and layoffs and downsizing and banking problems. We'll start with that because it's probably one of the most pressing matters, I think. We just had an announcement now that a few more banks are going to be downsizing and doing massive layoffs. So this is Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Citigroup, Barclays, Credit Suisse. So a lot more jobs are going in what they are now. Interesting. What did I say 2-3 months back? White collar recession. That's exactly what the media agencies are talking about now. This white collar, not a blue collar recession that's coming, because there's so much demand on workers and skilled workers and people that work with their hands and engineering jobs and all these other things. Goldman Sachs alone is set to cut 3,200 jobs. So that's just under 10%. It's about 8 to 9% of their total workforce. And now Amazon has just announced that they're going to be closing another 3 distribution centers, another 3 warehouses, another 1,200 jobs. So this isn't part of the big restructuring that Amazon is doing this year. This is on top of that. So 3 more warehouses, distribution centers, about 1,200 UK jobs to go from Amazon this year, which, is bad for those people. It's bad for those workers. But at the same time, if you're a stockholder of Amazon, and it's pretty cheap at the moment, it's a fairly good buy-in point. It depends what your goals are with the stock market and how you invest, and whether you're doing it privately, whether it's your pension, whatever you're doing with it. And remember that I've got a stock market course if you don't have a clue about the stock market or what I'm talking about. Really, really simple, step by step, everything made easy. But let's move back to what I wanted to say about Thailand since I'm here, and that it's so ironic that last week on the walk, when I was going around that park, okay, so we know what those lizards were. They're monitor lizards. Now, there was a lot of comments about Komodo dragons and all sorts of very, very close. So apparently they were monitor lizards. So that's interesting. But yeah, what I said on that video was, I just got this gut instinct, which is what happens with a lot of things I do, really. It's on gut instinct, a lot of these things. I just got this feeling that I should take that holiday, this vacation, sooner rather than later. And I'm glad that I did, because what happened when I was on, it was actually as I was doing that walk and talk, Thai government announced that they were going to bring in the jab, we'll use that word, mandates again, and a PC test for entry to Thailand and all these other things, basically. But then just 48 hours later, they actually did a U-turn. Now, that's quite interesting as to why they did that U-turn. A lot of people, I don't really think, understand, but it was due to a lot of lobbying from tourism all around the world, but it was also due to Thai mafia. Yes, a lot of people won't talk about this aspect of it, but they were set to lose an absolute fortune or across the board, everyone, from cancelling travel. And they actually had And there's no official numbers on this, but I know several people with resorts in Thailand, and it was all sort of the same sort of thing. They were saying that around 30 to 40% they were getting emails saying they may have to cancel their trip because of these new mandates. And I better just turn around here because I think this is someone's private property just behind me here. But yeah, they were going to lose so much business from this travel mandate that came in that people just flipped out. And it wasn't just travel and tourism, it was also Thai people as well who rely on travel and tourism. And there's a guy we're staying with this week actually, because he owns a resort here, and he said it really good. His name's Frankie. He said, yeah, they talk about how tourism is just 12% of the Thai economy, so it's not a lot, it doesn't really matter. But what he said is it's not that simple, because it's not just from the tourism, but it's all sorts of other things as well that comes about with the tourism here in Thailand. And, he gave me loads of examples, which I can't remember right now. But things like, it could be something simple like medical. You might do some medical tourism while you're here. And he was saying that a lot of guys, who are single, a lot older men, single, who might come here and they meet a wife here. The lady I was just speaking to, Thai lady, really nice. She's in her 40s. She met her husband here on the beach. He's American. So there's a lot of other things. And what Frankie was basically saying was, some girl he knew, she was dating a guy from, a Western guy, and her mother needed a surgery. So he sent a little bit of money for the surgery, and then her mum got the surgery. She feels better now. So he's saying there's a lot of other things. So it's not just the 12% tourism. Everything's, and it's what I talk about a lot as well in terms of the economy. Everything is connected. You can't just look at things on their own. Every single thing is connected. Now, another thing we were talking about this week was, and the Thai people find this really, really funny, is that if you think about all the, LGBT type issues in America and the UK and the West, and how it's like a really, really polarized and often aggressive and cancel culture thing and all that. You explain that to Thai people here and they just laugh. They find it funny because, they've had all of that for decades. I remember the first time I came to Thailand 20 years ago, and I was talking to, as you do, you go to a couple of bars and, with your friends and stuff. And I was talking to this girl and I thought, wow, stunning, absolutely beautiful. And then someone said to me, oh, that's actually a ladyboy. And I said, oh, what? What's a ladyboy? How naive, hey, when you're young. And even then, I remember there was never all this, craziness that we have in the West around things like that. You see gay couples, lesbian couples, you see, loads of what you would call trans people, what they call, and again, it's not me saying it, what they call themselves ladyboys here. And there's no issues, there's no cancel culture and aggressive this and tweets and all that. Just doesn't exist here. It's just chill. Everything is very calm, very relaxed. Now, I'm sure as a country they have other problems. I think every country has their own problems. But I think there's a lot that we could learn from the Thais around this very polarized topic. Now, over in the UK then, a lot of big problems this week. These strikes just seem to be never ending. The whole country seems to be on strike every time I look at the news. So you've got ambulance workers. So these are your emergency services workers at the moment on strike. Okay, just had to let that guy go past there. So yeah, we've got all these emergency services workers on strike. So what is the government looking to do? To pass a law to make it illegal for them. That's what it is. They're sugarcoating it a little bit, but it's to make it illegal for emergency services to go on strike. And they were talking about how, I don't know if this is correct, but they said in America, emergency services cannot go on strike. It is illegal, and all this other stuff they were saying. So that's the sort of thing that's been passed. I think you're going to see months of legal disputes around that, to say, saying that someone can't strike. It is, again, all of these topics are very contentious, very, very controversial, because I can see both sides of the arguments. If you're not getting paid enough, and again, I'm not saying that's a fact, I'm just saying if you feel that you're not getting paid enough and you think the only way to get that pay is to strike, and then someone tells you, no, you can't strike, it's illegal to strike, then at the same time someone could die because someone strikes, then I get that. I do get that, because I've heard all of these stories over and over again at the moment of people waiting for an ambulance, especially during the lockdown era, we'll call it. So I don't get one of these warning notifications. I've got 4 of them on my videos at the moment. Get the facts about 19. Yeah, I think I'll pass on the government facts. But anyway, a lot of people were actually dying because the ambulances just weren't there, weren't available. So yeah, I completely get why this is happening. But Rishi is always the PM, by the way, of the UK Prime Minister. He's always in hot water at the moment. So many things. So he's talking about the NHS and, it's in a crisis and all of that. And people just need to get on with it. And then he was asked, but do you use an NHS, which is National Health Service, by the way, if you're not from the UK? Do you use an NHS doctor where you have to wait for days or even weeks, some people say, to see a doctor, even in an emergency? Now, I don't know if that's true. I think if you've got an emergency, you can probably go to the hospital and you'll have a 10-hour wait or something crazy like that. I have a friend who works in an ER emergency room, and he's like, staff just walk out all the time. They have meltdowns. There's just too many cases coming in and the system's overwhelmed. I'm sure it is. I think it probably actually is. I would agree with that. But then you have the likes of Rishi doing himself no favours, where he won't answer the question if he uses a doctor. Just answer the question and say, no, actually, I use a private doctor that costs £250 for a 30-minute consultation. Just say that. I think that's the best thing you can possibly do as a leader. But of course, that does him no favours with everyone knowing that he's telling people just get on with it, and then he's seeing a private doctor. All right, let's turn around here, because I think I just walked into someone's property and their hut again. Right, what was I talking about last week? Pakistan. Do you remember I was saying about Pakistan and all the issues there? Well, now this is getting worse and worse and worse. I haven't checked all the statistics on Pakistan this week, but I did see on the news earlier that they had a 24% CPI last month, and inflation is just running wild. But one thing I do track is all the food, as you know. I'm always tracking it every month, and one of their provinces just run out of wheat, and they're asking, we're going to have a humanitarian crisis if you don't send wheat. And the government's saying, we can't send wheat, we haven't got any wheat, we haven't got any food as it is. So I think we're going to see a lot more issues coming down the line for Pakistan and a lot of other nations. I still can't believe that where we are in 2023 now, they're still hiding a lot of this stuff, and they're putting out these, this little article here and there. 2023 is going to be bad. Yep, it's going to be a bad one. We're going to have a little bit of a recession. Whereas you'd expect them to be a lot more honest and talk about a lot of the other things that are going to be happening this year. Not good at all. But let's get back onto, let's get down here. Let's get back on the beach now. And let's just take a little walk down the beach here. As we talk about the last point, always a controversial one near the end. I said I'd tell you a funny story actually, before we get onto the last point. Oh wow, these Thai boats are so loud. There it is there. So noisy. All right, I said I'd tell you a couple of funny stories then. Well, the first one, my luck with dogs. I love dogs, but it gets me into trouble sometimes. Well, I was just cycling down here to the beach, and as I was coming down on the left, I saw this dog, and it was sleeping. So I thought, I'll whistle to it. I don't know why I thought to do that. As I whistled, the dog just gets up, gets really angry. Don't know because I woke him up or what. And he chased me all the way down. This dog, I don't know what they're feeding that thing, but he chased me all the way down to the beach on my bike. I was going as fast as I could. And this thing, goodness me, that damn dog. But anyway, last point. So I've seen all the climate, narrative stuff going on this week. Everything, all these storms in California and, every single thing that's adverse weather is due to climate change is what they're saying. So they got all these experts on the TV this week, and they're talking about $165 billion of damage in the USA. And they said This is an all-time record in these, this panel. And then they said this proves without any shadow of doubt that climate change is getting worse because of the, the monetary amount of the damages. And I was watching it going, hold on. Wait a second, is this inflation adjusted damages or is this just the damages? So there's two flaws in this argument. Let's keep walking actually. So the first flaw is around inflation. So obviously you can't go back 50 years and say, oh look, it was only X billion then and now it's 165 billion. Well, no, you've got to account for inflation in that. You've got to adjust the figures. But anyway, they didn't do that. Obviously, they're not going to do it. But the second point was this. And again, this seems common sense to me, but no one mentioned it. If you think about 50 years ago, how many buildings there were on the coastline, right? When they're talking about all the sea levels and, all this other stuff. And this year on the coastline, so much more damage, and this proves it. Well, think 50 years ago, how much building there was, how many resorts there were, and how many apartments and, houses that were on the beach and all that. Nowhere near the amount that there is today. Nowhere near. And even if there was, they weren't the same standard as they are today. You've got all these billionaires that are building houses on the beach now. They weren't doing that before. These billionaires weren't. And it just makes me laugh. Even politicians as well. They've got these houses on the beach and they're talking about, meters of sea level rise and all this sort of stuff. And yet they've got a house on the beach. Anyway, I guess no one even thinks about that. But yeah, it's pretty common sense and logical to me anyway. 50 years ago, there just wasn't the same amount of real estate on the beach, on the coast than there is today. But anyway, I guess none of these, they never have someone on these panels that is against, right? They always have people that are always for this exact thing. And that's what bothers me. It bothers me that they never want to have a fair argument on all of these things. Why? Why don't they ever want to do that? Well, I think we know the answer. But here we are anyway, on this beautiful beach. We're going to have dinner now. We're going to meet with about, a dozen people or so. Have dinner on the beach here. So I hope you enjoyed through the third party, this walk and talk today, and you can see this beautiful beach and heat and everything else. So that's it for today. I'll see you next week at some point. Take care. God bless you guys, and I'll see you soon. What are you getting? What are you up to?
Like a braid with color in it.
Well, it looks great. Beautiful. These things are really, really loud at night. Yeah, he's really excited.